I was doing the punk thing. So Beggar Sign Me, I think we put out the first single was called That's Too Bad. That was a punk song. And the second one was called Bombers. That was another funky song. And then I found the synthesizer. When I found the synthesizer, I wanted the Tube Army thing to be finished, because to me Tube Army was a punk band. It put out 2 punk singles. We signed as a punk band. What I wanted to do wasn't that at all anymore. 2 of the 4 had gone anyway. It was only me and Paul left, and Paul was happy to do what I wanted to do. He was really loyal, lovely. Like, Paul Gardner.
Oh, right.
He died later, unfortunately. So I wanted to knock it on the head there, but Beggars didn't. Beggars sort of considered that they'd put money into the first 2 singles and getting the band's name known, which wasn't really true, because nobody knew us from Adam. We were still. I think the last gig I did before I got famous was at the Hope and Anchor in Stoke Newington, North London.
Yeah, Upper Street, Islington.
Yeah, 6 people there.
Well, you only get 6 people, isn't there? It's about the size of this room, isn't it?
I wanted to drop the name then.
Sure.
So, but Beggars didn't want to, because so the first album went out as a Chilby Army album, and I would have preferred it to have gone out as a Grand Newman album. Sure. To me, it was a complete different thing.
Right. And
then the next one came out as a Chilby Army album, and that one went to #1. And it was only then that I had enough clout at Beggars to say, right, that's it.
So Replicas was Tube Army.
Yeah.
And then Pleasure Principle was at the next one.
Gary Newman, yeah. But the unfortunate downside of that is it looked as if I'd got some success at Tube Army and then dropped them.
Sure.
And went off on my own.
Sure.
But it wasn't. It was me. It was only ever me and Paul before.
Sure.
And my uncle did drums on Tube Army. My uncle did drums on Replicas. And then when we decided, to go professional, my uncle didn't want to.
Right.
He was an executive at Avis or something, a car hire company, and he didn't want to give that up for the uncertainties of the music business. Replicas is only half electronic.
Sure.
I mean, there's some songs on it that don't have any keyboards on them at all.
Yeah. People get go, what?
Yeah, and even a lot of songs on it do have keyboards on. They're still essentially guitar driven,
sure,
with some keyboard noises over them.
My
whole thing about electronic music isn't because I wanted to get rid of conventional music at all. Quite the opposite. I loved it. I love guitar, bass and drums. Still do, always have done. I wanted to add electronics to it.
Yeah.
Very much what John was doing.
Sure.
See, Ultravox were my blueprint.
Right.
What Ultravox, John Fox was with them, what Ultravox were doing then with that Systems of Romance album in particular, which to me is a fucking landmark album.
Absolutely.
The one that I tried to be as good as and never got as good as that album. That was a brilliant album. That's what I wanted to do, and what they were doing, conventional lineup, enigmatic frontman that you wouldn't take your eyes off, with a really unusual voice, great unusual voice, with a fantastic layer of electronics on top of that. That's what I was aiming for, so I didn't want to be Kraftwerk.
Right.
No, I had no interest in that.
Mm.
Human League were around, Orchestral Manoeuvres were around, and Fad Gadget and some of those other people. But I was largely unaware of all of that. I only started to find out that Human League were there once I started doing electronic music, and then I started to scour the papers and the magazines and just try to find out as much about it as I could. Obviously, Beggars being a record store, I could spend hours just going through their albums and trying to find other people that were doing something similar. I was frightened that when I started doing it, I was absolutely paranoid that somebody else, because I thought I was the only one for a while, I thought no one else had found it, and I was absolutely paranoid that somebody else was going to come along doing what I was doing, do it quicker, better, first. And so I was desperate to get that first album out as quick as possible. I even wrote a song called When the Machines Rock, because I just wanted the Machine Rock name. I wanted that to be out there first. The instrumental, I just chucked it on the album quick, When the Machines Rock, to try to give it a name. I wanted it out there, but it never took, actually. People never called it Machine Rock. I thought they would, but I wish it did, because I prefer it to electronic or electro-pop, which I fucking hate. Because, a lot of people that cover my stuff, your Trent Reznors and Foo Fighters and the like, are quite sort of gifted songwriters anyway, so it's unlikely that they're going to cover anything which doesn't satisfy them musically in some way or another, from a songwriting point of view, which I take a fair amount of pride from.
Away comes